Hi everybody, Jared Sessler here. I'm going to take you down a long pathway that describes the Klamath River dam removal process. This is kind of a special video that came about as we went through the process and got to see all the devastated lives from this dam destruction process. It was just incredible. And so this video, we're going to talk a little bit about that process, but most of it's going to be about the lives that were destroyed as a result of these dams being removed. So one of the things I want to point out is that we can build magnificent infrastructure. I was just driving recently at night back from an event and I came around a corner and I saw this just massive dam, just absolutely beautiful. These dams power our homes, they feed our farms, they tame wild rivers, but radicals can tear them down on a whim with zero regard for the lives and the life savings and the families and the property that they destroy. They also have zero regard for the taxes that we pay to spend as they waste and plunder and pillage our wallets for more and more. We pay billions to for these power generating dams so that we can enjoy that and other benefits that come from the dams. Remember that life flourishes with cheap energy, and these hydropower dams deliver a lot of inexpensive energy. We also enjoy recreation on the waterways that are created, and cool water, which is, especially in the Klamath situation, is encouraging, and it supports water life downstream and the surrounding wildlife. It's efficient transportation for goods on the river, and of course it's cheap energy. Our tax dollars invested in that, and we deserve a good return in that, and if it's possible. That return should not be disposed of on a whim by radical, deranged climate activists that is too dense to read the actual data regarding the benefits of this to the sea life. Be sure to check out the other 3 videos in this series as well. Hi everyone, I'm Jared Sessler, and though I'm in Washington, D.C. this week, I'm about to take you on a powerful trip I made to Northern California's Klamath River. I went there to see the wreckage left behind after 4 river dams were torn down in 2023 and 2024. What I found was devastation, real people, real lives torn apart. You'll hear their stories in this video, raw and unfiltered. First, I owe a huge thanks to Lisa Mott and Theo Johnson, who spent days guiding me across hundreds of miles of this region. Theo, a rancher from a long line of ranchers, is fighting for her family's way of life against a government that's way overreaching, that's suffocating good folks. She's right to be worried, not just about regulations, but about crazed climate activists chasing debunked narratives, serving some false idols instead of the American people. I'm 56 now, so I've seen these wild climate claims come and go, wasting taxpayer money while ignoring the God-given call to steward this land wisely. Theo and her family deserve better, and so do you. Lisa Mott made this trip possible. She runs a Facebook page that's become a lifeline of truth about the Klamath Dam removals. For years, she's poured her heart into sharing stories and checking the river's pulse week after week to see if it'll ever recover. Lisa's a warrior, a veteran of today's American battles, and this work is dedicated to her and everyone who is working tirelessly against the evil that we face in our day today. This is also an investigative warning to those from my state of Washington, where our own dams are under threat. Lisa Mott deserves a medal for her work and for her passion. I set out to uncover the process, how they managed to dynamite these dams without congressional approval. I'm an engineer. I want the blueprint to stop this from happening again, but I wasn't ready for the emotions that hit me. Every question I asked about the process led to stories of lives and life savings destroyed by this reckless project. As a veteran who swore to defend the Constitution, it's gut-wrenching to see our rights trampled by a weak government and a faction of extremists who don't care about keeping us safe or secure. I tried to stay focused on the how, the steps they took, but the heartbreak kept pulling me back. You'll see it in the clips: lives shattered, land ruined, and a region now vulnerable to wildfires and flooding because the river's power that was once safely regulated by the dams is now unleashed. This trip was about learning the truth to protect others, especially back home in Central Washington. Every minute I spent was worth it if it helps stop this kind of devastation from spreading. You'll hear the folks who share their broken hearts with us, and we've labeled their names where they gave us permission. I'm grateful for their courage. I'll pop in throughout and explain key moments. And we've got companion videos linked below, including an unforgettable boat tour down a lifeless river, something I'll never forget. Stick with me. This is about real people, real consequences, and a fight to protect our future. So let's dive in and hear some of the stories, but we will get to the dam destruction steps used by those who seek to destroy our lives. Let's begin with hearing from a 45-year Klamath River guide named Al Kutsky, who was nice enough to take us on a float down the river.
Just the hatchery, the ladder's right there. Focus Creek's right there. You come in here and the salmon running good and thick. You just put your oar down and the salmon just everywhere.
Really?
Wow. Just splashing everywhere.
Now there would be some resident steelhead.
No, right now there'd be just mostly all just rainbows.
Oh, okay. On a normal year?
Yeah, a normal year I'd be fishing rainbows. I'd be fishing a stonefly, so, indicate with a big floating fly, imitating that salmon fly, which is huge like this. It's like a little hummingbird flying around, and you hit it next to the trees here. The line down here is right here on the corner where the rock point is. That's when we could start fishing. When the dam was in there, there's a cutoff. It's 1,000 yards from the dam to here.
Really?
You couldn't fish till there. Couldn't fish till there. See this look, the first hole here. We call this the first hole because it's the first big spot to stop. I got pictures over here. This is all new. This bar here. This used to be all big deep hole on this side here. I pulled over here and just anchored up and landed salmon here, left and right.
So how deep did this used to be, you said?
I'm getting sand at about 3 feet right there. And it used to be about 7, 8. On the edge here was closer to 10. Now it's all just mud and silt.
Yeah. I mean, you can see as soon as you disturb it how muddy and it gets.
And normally, like I was talking about bugs, all on this, I don't know if you can see, on this cement wall here, you would have what's called the husks of the salmon fly and stoneflies. They're a water bug that crawls out. They're about that long with 6 legs. Ugly looking things. But they'd crawl up there and they'd hatch out and fly away. So they'd clamp on and they'd always stick right to them. I don't see any. There would be hundreds of them.
Yeah.
On here, on the tree and on the cement. Well, I was born and raised on this river. I mean, I don't remember everything but the river and fishing it. And, my grandfather was a guide. My dad was a guide, so I was out here when I was like 3, 4 years old doing it. And I started rowing a boat when I was 12 or 13. And I took my first guide trips when I was about 15. People would drive me around with their car because I had no driver's license. So we put the boat in, use there, and I'd row them down and fish and do that. So I basically did it for over 45 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right here on this river right here. So, yeah. I'm not sure why it's called that. My grandfather named most of these places. It's because he was the first fishing guide here and he had the lodge. So, there's another one I can tell you.
What's it been like?
I haven't even fished hardly. It's just destroyed my business. I mean, I haven't fished the river, actually fished the river since last August. And then they start pushing all that mud in Ginny Creek, and it just muddied the whole river clear to the ocean. Because I was fishing only about 10 miles from the ocean. Don't see, after 2 years, we're going to see hardly any fish. Something else to see right here, right now, that you're not seeing rainbows jump. We had a great native population of rainbows in here. And you're not seeing it. I mean, there's times when the salmon fly hatch was going, there'd be salmon flies all over here. We'd be fly fishing. We'd catch 50 to 100 fish a day.
Okay, next up is some time here with Lisa Mott. She's really a rock star of the opposition to this demolition project. She has connections throughout the Klamath Basin and was able to make this documentary possible. This next few minutes, she's going to show us some of the details and the destruction of the project. It's difficult to visualize, but in some of these, we were standing by huge empty lakes. Lisa will point out where the water line was in the past, but even standing there as I was, it's difficult to imagine what it was like before they removed the dams. Just truly devastating.
We're here at the Collier's Rest Area. This is a stop between the town of Wairika, California and Medford, Oregon. This is a popular spot for a lot of travelers to stop at the rest area on their way. When the dams were breached, this rest area was affected as well. They get their water here to irrigate the land. The grass that you see here operate the toilets in this facility with water from the Klamath River. So when they breached the dams back January, They have their own filtration system here that helps filter the water to make it potable and usable for this facility. And they have to test that water to make sure it meets the California standards for drinking water. And so what happened is when they breached the dam, they had their filter system and it actually clogged up and burned up their filter system. What happened after that is they made an agreement with the Klamath River Renewal Corporation, and they actually had to bring in water so that they can keep this facility open to utilize the restrooms and the drinking fountains and stuff like that. So it got to the point last year that everything was in such bad shape, they actually closed down this rest area. So from here, if you look up in that canyon, up and around the bend is where Iron Gate Dam was. You technically couldn't see it from over here. And if you kind of look over there, you can kind of see the road where they went down into where the dam was and where they trucked it up. And you can see the platform that's still over there. So that's where they took all the materials from the Iron Gate Dam. And like over here, this used to be a nice big cove. You can see how brown it is now. It's all fenced off, so public can't go down below the fences. They've got no trespassing signs now, so like even our day use area over there, up at the road, they have it blocked off with no trespassing, so we can no longer go down in here. We can go down to the fence line, but we can't go beyond the fence line. I know that they said, quote unquote, they were putting the fence in to keep the wild horses out and to keep other critters out, but I mean, obviously a deer can easily jump the fence, but I think that this was their way of keeping the animals out of the reservoirs. I know when they were first breaching these reservoirs, like a lot of wild animals got stuck in the footprints. I know even up at Copco, there's a lot of deer that got stuck in there, and they actually had to come up and euthanize them because they couldn't get them out. I know in some areas there was cows stuck. I know some of the horses got stuck. Pretty much anything after the breaches that tried to go down in there and get water, it was so soft, some animals would just sink and they couldn't get out. So this is kind of what the area is looking like now. Like I said, you could definitely see over here where the lake used to be.
Do we expect that access is going to be opened back up again? Or
That it will be, I think, after the restoration when they're done up here. I still don't know when that's going to be. I know we were talking it could be in 2028. I thought I saw something recently that said it could even be 2030. I think it's whenever they feel that the restoration is done, but nobody really knows when that is because they're not exactly transparent with anybody that's local here.
Mm-hmm.
I know I reached out to our county board of supervisors and I was asking them questions as well, especially the trees that they've been bringing in about 2 months ago. If you look up in that cove, like kind of where those trees are in the bottom on that side, that's where they were bringing the junipers from, and we've got videos of it. Some people that were up here. And they were flying them from helicopter, and we'll see when we get on around the bend. They were bringing junipers from there, and they were actually flying them over this area and that way to Jenny Creek and Camp Creek. And then I've talked to some individuals as well, and they said that they were flying them up to Copco. And we will see those junipers when we get up there. But this was a location, and I think that's why they have like the whole south side barricaded off, is because they still consider this like a construction site. What I call a brown-green tint. It's not real clear. It's still got that really brown color to it with the green tint. And you can see like there's some algae and stuff already floating down the river, like what we saw down at Klamath. And this location right here is about 5 miles upstream from the Klamath Bridge. And actually, if you bend down real low, and I don't know if Theo can see it, you can kind of see the sonar device. You kind of barely see a device up there, and we'll be able to see it down when we go to the bottom. So that is the sonar device that they put in last year to detect the fish that was swimming upstream. So it was portrayed that that sonar device was located up above Iron Gate Dam. And I just showed you where the dam was up there in that canyon up there. It was up and around the bend of the river. And that's where they claimed the sonar was up above the dam. And so by that night, it was claimed that the first fish swam by the sonar device for the first time in 100 years. So they were claiming it would pass with Iron Gate Dam. When in fact I had asked, well, where's the sonar device? Because I have come up here so often, I didn't see it in the river above Iron Gate Dam. And so somebody had posted a picture, well, I recognized this area. So I literally came up the next morning and I found the sonar device was actually below the previous Iron Gate Dam. And I think, you know, a lot of people say, oh, it's the first time in 100 years. Well, Iron Gate Dam has only been here for 62 years. And then the area where they've got the sonar device is an area that fish were known to come back to. So it wouldn't have been uncommon for fish to swim up past the sonar device because the rearing stocks were up there at the bottom of the dam too. So this section of river was common for fish to be. And if you look, this is the Iron Gate Fish Hatchery, which we will walk down to. And just around the river bend down here is where the fish ladder is that goes into the Iron Gate Hatchery, and just right past that is Bogus Creek. So if you kind of look from there, maybe to the dam, it's less than a half a mile. I don't really know. It's probably another 500 feet up around that bend. And then you've got the dam or the fish hatchery that's right down here. So for them to say that this is the first time in 100 years that a fish has swam past the sonar isn't accurate. This is an area where fish were known to be at.
Well, plus we knew at the time, how many hundreds of miles are we from the ocean here?
I think from here we're about 190.
Yeah, there's just no way the condition of the water at that time that any fish could have made it up. So they had to be trucked up.
Yes.
And those photos that they shared were not legitimate.
Correct. And I know I talked to a lot of people that live up here, so they see things, whether it's on this Kopko Road or coming in Ager-Beswick, which is another road that comes up into Kopko. There's multiple people that saw the tank trucks or the pickups with the tanks on them, or the big tanks coming up here. I don't have any pictures to prove it or disprove it, but from talking to people that live here and see it, they saw the tank trucks coming up.
I don't think it'd be impossible to think that adult fish would have come up this river, even as murky and terrible as it was. I don't think that there were none that would have actually come. Right. I don't think that there were none that would have actually come up. I don't believe that. I just don't think that they necessarily made it up to where they were claimed to have been found in really pristine condition. Usually those adult fish, by the time they get this high up the river, they're about ready to die. They're going to spawn and die. They look terrible.
Yeah.
And these were really beautiful looking fish. It was just kind of suspect.
Yeah. And talking to people, maybe a couple of them made it through, but then, coming up here is kind of crazy, the people that I run into. Some of them are retired from different departments or different agencies, and they have friends that they know that might be a biologist or something. And they even question how a fish can make it from the mouth of the river 190 miles up this way without those sediments accumulating within their gills and just being able to make it that far. So, it's definitely questioned how are they able to make it 190 miles through all that stuff that they sent down the Klamath River. I mean, we all saw it is pretty nasty and pretty gross, and there's a lot of sediment. So I know that there's a lot of questions about that. I personally don't think that locals would have an issue if they were planting the fish up here. I think that would be a way to help them, quote unquote, recover. We just ask for the transparency of it.
Yeah, it's propaganda.
Right.
If they're trucking fish up and then claiming that they swam all that way, that's not legitimate. I know for me, I live on a river, and we have a similar bridge to this, and I can look down and see a lot of fish and different things going on. And here there's two problems. One, you can't really see, and even if you could see, you may be able to see through, but there's so much sediment that all you're seeing is the sediment either in the water or at the bottom. There's no, you're not seeing any kind of detail. There's no rocks. There's no life.
Well, that's what the anglers are saying is a big problem for them. There's probably fish in there, but they can't see anything. So that also calls into question how accurate the counts have been.
Right.
For,
And we're at the, I always use my peanut butter analogy, of just smearing that that peanut butter down the river to fill every void,
Right.
like Bondo on the side of a car. But we're literally within a quarter mile of where that dam
Yeah.
was, and so this would be, there could be several feet or more of sediment in this.
Yeah, this is ground zero.
Yeah, this is ground
Yeah.
zero. And actually we'll walk down this way because we can look up into that canyon better through their fence. Can go out through that bridge. And I don't know if you can get out on the gate on the other side if you don't have like... First, the Iron Gate Dam, that's the one that had the clay core and that was built out of dirt. So when they built it originally, it was a pretty secure dam. I do know that after it was first built though, that's when they had the flood in, is it 64? And I believe that they discovered, because they had just built it, and on the north side of the dam, it actually washed out the part of the dam. And so then they came back in later and they put in a spillway over on that side, because it seems like during those high flows is when it washed out. So once they fixed the north side of that dam and put in that spillway, they never had a problem with it since. This would be Camp Creek. This also used to be part of the Iron Gate Reservoir. You can see that they're doing a lot of work in here. So the juniper trees that I was just talking about are all right here along the bottom. So this would be like the second set of trees that they brought in. They brought in the root wads that we'll see farther up last year. And last year they placed some of the root wads in this creek itself. You can see right now what they're doing is they're removing a lot of the sediment next to Camp Creek. And if you look over here where the excavator or the cats are and all this fresh dirt over here, they're basically taking it out of the bottom right here and they're taking it up higher and then they're grading it with the cat. And so they're using these big dump trucks to haul the dirt from down here up to, you can see higher up on the hillside.
The truth is that those seeking to destroy dams really just want to control our lives. They want what they want now until it doesn't work, and then they think they can just snap their fingers and put the dams back along with whatever else they choose to destroy. Building billion-dollar infrastructure doesn't work like that. It will take decades and billions of dollars to rebuild these dams, and the devastated lives will not be repaired in the meantime. And when we do get to rebuild it, a new crew of brainless liberal recruits will be waiting to begin the fight to tear them out again, claiming that the fish can't swim up a ladder that is literally made for them to pass through. I shake my head at the willful ignorance in our country today. It is only overcome by the epidemic of apathy. If more people would educate themselves, then less would be as apathetic to the destruction that is happening around us. This may sound harsh, and I hope it gets your attention because I'm sort of channeling the feeling that I got after having spent a couple of days in the Klamath Basin meeting with dozens of people whose lives are literally devastated after the removal of the Klamath River dams. Their lives, their property, their hopes, and their dreams were drained right out of those dams as the dams were blasted and destroyed. Deep and vast lakes disappeared overnight, never to return without a big, new, beautiful dam in place of the ones that were taken out. Homes that were on the water's edge now sink as the foundations settle and crack. City water dries up. Fire suppression reservoirs are gone. The threat of an unruly river and mass flooding downstream returns. High water temperatures that were tempered by the reservoirs return. Death and destruction of all wildlife and sea life are on full display, with deer stuck in the mud and crying for help, fish floundering by the millions on the ground where the river once was. Property values drop like a rock, and life dreams vanish like a desert mirage. This first story is a Russian couple that migrated to America decades ago, built a business, bought their dream home on the lake, and are now numb and devastated. They also live in the community of Kopko, where the water has run dry because the dams were removed. The ground around their home has sunk and many pipes have broken as a result. The foundation to their home is also cracking due to the settling.
I think though the more that we get the word about what's really going on up here, because obviously as much as we've all tried, it's suppressed. I know I've reached out to news organizations and other organizations and nobody really wants to cover it. You know, I send sources, I send stuff to all the news media that I'm aware of, even the local ones, and even our local stations will hardly even touch it. they might give us a short little blurb and then they go over to KRRC and Res and get the information for them. So what we're saying is not really being broadcast out there. And so I think that's where our trouble is that we don't really have anybody that wants to report on what's really going on.
No. That's why I refused to meet with reporters after they take the dams down. So they didn't phone me. Because I was buying Fox News, everybody. Trump, I got 2 letters from Trump. They said, thank you for your input. It's a local issue. I don't think they would do that when Trump was president.
No, and I think that that's probably why they rushed it through as quickly as they did.
So bad, yes.
Because according to their plan, they weren't supposed to breach in these dams as quickly as they did. It was supposed to be a slow drawdown, and it was far from that. J.C. Boyle was gone in 17, 18 hours? Copco disappeared in less than 5 days. Iron Gate, obviously that's the lower dam. That was the first one that was breached. But they breached that one first, and then they started releasing more water out of Copco, and then they breached JC, and then they breached Copco. So, obviously Iron Gate stayed there longer because that's the farthest dam down the system that collected the water from JC and Copco. So I would say Iron Gate was gone probably within a couple weeks after the final breaches were made, just because it was accumulating all that water. But I know when I made my trip up here, I wasn't expecting to see a lake empty here at Copco in less than 5 days.
When they opened the boil, I went to Access 1, and I couldn't believe my eyes, the water condition of the water. And I grew in Georgia, Republic of Georgia. We have a lot of, rivers and streams. And I know in this kind of water, there is no fish will survive.
Yeah.
There's no oxygen, plus it stinks so bad. I have videos. Then, when they started open the Copco, this cove here, so it was pretty clear compared to the rest of the, whatever left. And you see the fish, just trying to breathe, it was there.
Yeah.
And then the deer, my God. And I found a couple deer dead over there. They gone probably already. They broke their legs on these cracks. They don't go, they don't drink, they still don't go here to the water. They're afraid. So I put the buckets for them. We saved with my wife about 5 or 6 turtles here. They fell down on the cracks, so they can't get out. So we've been dragging and put them in the creek, at Muller's Cove.
Yeah.
Maybe they survived there.
Yeah, let's hope so.
And there was one dead bald eagle also. It was a little patch of the mud, and the catfish survived there. So he thought he can get him, and he gets stuck in the mud. So, and I was afraid to get closer because, it was muddy.
Yeah, you'd probably get stuck and not be
Oh,
able to get
yeah.
out. I mean, I know that they tried to, I know, of course, we all know with Mallard Cove, that's where a lot of the deer got stuck, and they
There is
couldn't,
several,
they couldn't even
shot
get
him.
them.
I know the warden came. He had no choice. He had to shoot me. The wardens are pretty nice. Yes. They get told to stay away from this place.
Yes, they do.
Keep their mouth shut. They're afraid of losing their jobs. Well, we'll see. The lake community is moving out. River community will move in. I hear some people saying that. What am I gonna do with this river? You can't swim. Even there is salmon there, you can't fish for salmon. Right? They open only 2 days in June.
Yeah.
The last 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly offensive to the people that were displaced, especially above Iron Gate, back when they built that in the 60s, for it now to just be torn out. It's like,
It's sad. It's sad. I had a lot of people bringing their kids here because fishing is pretty boring. Here it wasn't boring, because of the yellow perch. Every cast you get fish. And one day family from Los Altos Hills came, Chinese family, and they wanted to stay 1 or 2 days at my cabin, then go to Crater Lake, and they decided to stay because they had so much fun to fish. Because I showed them doing the fishing rods and everything.
Yeah. And you just wonder, who's really going to come up here now and enjoy this, except for those, taking a rafting trip down. I don't know how you get down to the river besides like where they're putting in this access point or where they're putting in access points. I don't know how you could really come up and enjoy this unless you're in a fishing boat or a raft.
Right. And I feel like, this year it's a little bit cooler, but the last year was so hot.
It was.
Yeah. And we've been expecting that this year too. I just put that mini split here, so but surprisingly it's pretty cool. But the dust, we got a lot of dust. My wife is just cleaning dust like every 3-4 days if we have windows open. I even had to cover the TV.
Oh wow.
And the lake's been giving you release, yeah, of course. Plus swimming was great. I used to swim over down on the other side, come back, keeps your back straight. Now we have to go to pool.
Yeah.
Now, the dust, I was told by a county supervisor that they're not being permitted, the county's not being permitted to go in the footprint of the dams to test the soil, the sediment. So they can't tell us what is in that dust. So is that something you're worried about?
This house and my other property, they're right here. They brought a really big sensor. I asked him to remove it because it was too noisy. There you go. That's down.
Okay. And I know that they did that last summer because I know that they were concerned about all the dust with the blowing of the dams and especially, I mean, it's right there around that bend. And now you've got this dust.
Oh, this noise, Like day before yesterday, I think they started at 6.
Oh gosh.
And of course, we have window open in the morning. We can hear this beep, beep. Hopefully one day they'll stop. They get all the money they want. Enough is enough.
Well, they keep saying all this is supposed to be done from what I've heard recently in September or October. That's
Here
what they said.
or everywhere?
I think just with the access points, as far as getting out of the river, because I know it's their mission to make this open to the public. I know that a month or two, they already said that they were opening up these access points to the public and there's going to be porta potties. And I think the only place that I've seen that's open to the public would be down at Iron Gate. They have a porta potty there. And then I want to say within the last month and a half, they opened up Fall Creek. But that's not always open. Other than that, I don't know where else the public can get to because you can see this isn't ready for the public yet. So, and besides the access points above Kopko, I don't really know what's available right now to the public until they get done with all these access points. But even then, I don't know what is still going to be accessible to the public besides where they're putting in these boat launch access points.
I know they've been building one more road down that road.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, you can see it from the Patricia Street.
I know that they were coming out across there because I know that they've got the juniper trees going all down what I call the newer Beaver Creek or the East Beaver Creek. So I don't really know what their plan is for Beaver Creek either.
Do you think these trees are dead? No, that was my other point to say. A lot of trees are dead. Like this oak tree is dead. This one is dead. I cut already a few trees down there. This one is dying, you see? Yeah, a lot of trees are dying, but there's more trees dying in my other property. I have 20 acres there, especially the trees being close to the water. It's not steep there, so the roots been close to the water all the time. They get used to water. Now there's no water at all. They die. Yeah. And of course, all these pine trees are dying.
Oh, yeah.
I've got about 100 trees dead there. So I had to pay out of my pocket to cut the big ones close to the cabin. So it cost thousands of dollars, yeah. Yeah, everything gets affected. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had 2 years on the road, we had the yellow jackets. I never see them around here. And for some reason, this year there are not many. But last 2 years, it was terrible, just terrible. And it started when they start draining the lake slowly. You remember 2 years ago? They just
Yeah.
How long did it take for them to drain the whole reservoir?
When they put the C4 there, couple 3 days.
Yeah, I'd say. Because I remember the day that they blew the dam, and I'm like, oh, I think I went up like 4 or 5 days later. And I started off at that end, at the east end of Copco, and I thought, oh, when I get down here, there's probably still going to be somewhat of a lake down at this end. It was gone.
So they didn't just open the spillways; they actually dynamited part of the dam.
Yeah,
and let it-
first they lowered the lakes. I'd say my water here was actually, you see that line where it drops?
yeah.
The line right there? Actually was best fishing there, the trout. That's where the water was. When it's flat, not like that, you can see it was farther away. And then when I had even people came here to see, they had the drones and they told them not to fly the drones. So it was the middle of the day, I think, about 2 or 3 o'clock. And then, in 3 days, lake was gone.
So much for their slow, right? Over like a 2 or 3 month
Yeah,
period.
right.
It was more like days.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 days.
So, like, I would say nothing about this project, like what they told the county and what they told residents here, turned out to be, I wouldn't say, I guess, truthful. Because, if you're supposed to drain these lakes over a 2 month period and you blow the holes in them and it's gone in 5 days, that's not over a 2 or 3 month span.
Yeah, they had a pontoons here, huge pontoon with excavators, and from Muller's Cove, they've been going every day to the dam, try to get some sediment. When I was watching them, dropping somewhere down there, but how much sediment they can get when the lake is full.
Right.
It was again about.
Yeah, just like a lot of the other work they're doing around here, it's a waste of money.
Yeah, I was surprised. Yesterday I went on the top of Patricia's, bunch of people there now. There was a lot of Pacific War, they're bringing power apparently to that property that they told me they're gonna give us a water from. And I said they're building the firehouse. We can drive there now. Firehouse? I don't know.
They're
We'll see.
Building a firehouse?
That's what he told me.
Interesting.
We can drive there if we can get through. Because
Okay.
it was like 7, 8 cars there, a bunch of action going on. Because a guy came to buy my side by side, so we've been testing it. I'm selling everything slowly, so just be a light. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Before we put the foundation out.
But the cinder blocks have definitely cracked.
Yeah, they
Oh,
cracked,
yeah.
yeah. And I realized it's happening after second explosion.
So are you the only one? I'm assuming you're not the only one here that's experienced your foundation.
Well,
It's a good house. I know the contractor built it for himself in 70s. Very solid. So let's go. I'll show you the garage.
You can definitely see where it's all cracking.
You see, I never drove any cars here, so there's nothing heavy here.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see if there's any more. I can almost see like a hairline crack going this direction.
Oh, they've been taking concrete to the top of the hill and then they cover it with the dirt.
Little did they know that in a rural area, we're pretty knowledgeable. I mean, you still talk to a lot of people. I mean, Theo's over in the Scott Valley. I'm in Montague, the Shasta Valley. I got in touch with Jared. But I think people are suspecting, since we're so rural, I don't think they expected us all to communicate so much and know so much about what's going on. Because regardless of where you are here in Siskiyou County, I feel like we're somewhat all connected, and we all, as a county, kind of know what's going on, and we communicate with each other. And I think that they didn't expect that when they did this project, so I don't feel like they thought they were going to have as many eyes on them as like what they do, locals coming up to see what's going on. Obviously, you guys living here near the dam and the lake sites, I don't think that they counted on like how many people would come up and see what was going on with the
But
project.
they don't care.
They don't care.
They're not even afraid of lawsuits. We already mentioned that.
Right.
So they're non-profit corporation. They'll disappear. Good luck swing states. I've been get sued all the time. I had a corporation.
Yeah.
Bankruptcy courts opens tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Get your number. So let's go inside. It's too hot.
Okay.
Running water for 1 year and 2 months. So and now we have a new well. They had to go much deeper. We had a well about 150 feet deep. Now it's close to 400, and we hit the arsenic. But we already
Arsenic.
signed release of liability So I have estimate $7,000 for filter, so they refuse to pay, of course.
So the water has a high level of arsenic in it in the new well, and so you have to filter that water before it gets pumped out to the homes.
Right,
And are the residents here? Are you using that water for drinking, or is it
I
just
don't
for-
drink this water.
just
I
for
don't want to.
showering and
Yeah, and nobody would cover this expense. We had to pay out of our pocket, but that's pocket change compared to everything else.
yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Now
very
I'm only one left in cul-de-sac. 8 houses. I'm only one here.
difficult. Oh, everybody else left.
Yeah, everything's changed. Yes, less wildlife and dusty, and this noise. I mean, yeah, they did hurt me pretty bad. So we lost mostly income I had from guiding and the short-term rental. So it's all
Right.
gone. So we're pretty much done. Hopefully I'll be able to sell everything and get out. So it was my dream to have a water park. They want to kill you, and they did. I won every case, actually, in the court, spent a ton of money for attorneys, but financially and emotionally, they'll drain you. You lose.
Oh yeah.
Never again. No worth it.
Hmm.
And these guys, they have a lot of money, a lot of government agencies. So
Kind of hard to fight the state and all the NGOs and all the government environmental agencies that are involved with this. They just make it miserable.
the main problem with government in the court, that the judges are the chain of revenue for government. That's from my own experience. So fighting government is being against the we. What they've been doing to me, you're not gonna believe it. I never thought it's something like that possible in this country. In Russia, yeah, in the Soviet Union. But here, can't say everything, but it's very corrupt. They told me one time in federal court, called me Russian immigrant, and go back where you came from.
Well, did the fence posts, I'm assuming they stunk right
Yeah.
there?
The fence looked like that.
So that's a big drop.
Yeah, look at it. They saying it because of septic. I don't believe that.
And why now?
The house was all shaking, of course, and I got a crack on my foundation. It's not really foundation, but I can show you in the garage, of course.
We can walk over there.
Your community here had any issues with water, potable water?
We had more issues with water than anybody else. We lost the water in 2 days after they drained the lake. And
So
we
do you have to re-drill your wells, or what happens?
Yes, not just the well. But the one thing they didn't want to pay us for the plumbing. So what happened when the lakes are gone, the ground starts shifting. And we had 18 breakups in 1 year.
As you can see, these stories of devalued property, broken infrastructure, lost dreams, and devastated lives are difficult to listen to. Dimitri and his wife are just one of the devastating stories that we heard. But we have a few more to share with you now. As you watch these, I would ask that you allow resolve to build that will enabled you to stand with me and others to ensure that this never happens in America again, and especially in our community here. Be sure to check out the other 3 videos in this series as well.
The house actually came from upriver by Shovel Creek, and so he and the neighbors welded a hitch on a neighbor's dump truck, and we hired the guys in town when there was that Fairlane mobile homes, and they jacked the house up and split it apart, and then these guys drove it down from upriver to the land here, and so we actually moved from there to there. So it wasn't far, but it's still like moving.
Still a big move.
It's still a big move.
So what about your dad? Wasn't he the first one to come here?
Our families bought the very first A-frames that were developed up here back in the 60s. So I think my uncle and their family bought in like 62. For us, it was a really nice, they called it the Siskiyou Retreat, because after World War II, our family were 100% Japanese, so our families were interned from the Bay Area. They were sent to Tanfran, the horse racing track, and then they were sent to Topaz, Utah. After they were able to come back into California after the war, and made their lives back in California. They wanted a place that they could raise their families, you know, on the vacations and fishing, and this was, you know, really marketed as a sportsman's paradise.
Yeah.
And it was. I mean, you could get any species of fish here. You know, if we wanted salmon, we could go down by Iron Gate and go fish for salmon, but we had bass and crappie and trout and catfish and perch. Yeah, perch was our favorite for sure. And we just, I think this process, we lost so much of our biodiversity, and nature has still really taken a hit here. We don't have the white pelicans or the migratory waterfowl that we did, and last year they really suffered up in the basin due to the botulism. I think they lost like over 80,000 waterfowl, and I think it was in September. And there is no more like large open water spaces of the Pacific Flyway. This was a very important breeding ground for a lot of that wildlife. And so, I don't know, I think that's been the hardest part, is just witnessing the death of so many diverse species in trade for one or two.
Which I don't actually think we benefited those species that this was done in the name of. Those
Not for a
salmon
while.
species.
I mean, I was friends with Dr. Paul Hauser, and he was the scientific integrity officer that was fired for being a whistleblower on this. And right after I showed him, pictures of what was happening, I showed him the deer that I found stuck in the mud, and showed him pictures of the deer that had to be shot. Those things are going to live in my bones. That's something that is going to get passed on, to other generations, because witnessing something like that. But,
well, and it wasn't 1 or 2 deer; it was like 8.
Yeah, it was a small family of does and babies that died a horrific death. But anyway, he was saying it's going to be 100 years.
It's interesting that I didn't know you were still in touch with him, and I've been wanting to know, where is Dr. Paul Hauser? What is he thinking about all this now? Because it's a huge "I told you so."
Yeah.
He was the whistleblower, like you said, and I think it might be worth. We've been kind of skirting around Dr. Hauser all day, and I've been wanting to talk more about him.
Yeah, the guy was brilliant. He was a hero for our county, and this is where, to me, this is where the hand of the divine really plays a part, because our county just happened to be back there at the same time that this was happening for him, where his boss was like, they were working on the project, and they were coming up with press releases saying that with dam removal there will be a 80% success rate for salmon returns. He's like, the science doesn't show that, and you can't put that out there. And his boss was like, the director of the Department of Interior wants these dams to come out, and so that's what's going to happen. And he's like, yeah, but the science doesn't show that. In fact, the science shows something completely different. And she said, well, you can't let anybody know that. And please, you haven't sent any paper trails out, have you? And that's when, he was like, all the red flags were going off. And then he, if this was really about fish passage, if this was really about the things that they say it was going to be about, we'd be all for it. But when you have lies and obfuscation and, disrespecting our local government, I think what I really want people to know is that this agenda is real. They're coming for your water. They're coming for your ag. They're coming for your resources. That's part of the game.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is a psychological game. It is warfare, whether we want to admit it or not. It's trauma-based mind control.
I just want to give everybody a hug in this community. It's really, really challenging, everything you face. Driving up on the ridge and looking down to a valley that used to be a lake, and just seeing a tiny little river running through there,
It's a moonscape. It's like a strip mine in Virginia.
What kept coming to mind were a number of things, but thinking about how many people moved here, sacrificed their life savings, maybe worked their whole life in order to get a place like this, and then only to have it stripped away.
Yeah, we're collateral damage.
As it was.
We're collateral damage.
So tell me, what is your story? I mean, how long have you been here, and how did this whole dam removal impact you?
I moved here 4 years ago. I needed to get out of cities with cell towers. I'm EMF allergic. And this was paradise. The lake, the ecosystem, the animals, the beauty. Every day was paradise. I had literally pinched myself.
Yeah.
And then we got the letter a year later. Then they told me, don't worry. We've been fighting it for 20 years. They're not going to do it. Well, next year, my second year, the letter came. A, your house is going to probably fall down the cliff. Sign this liability release. 2, your wells will go dry. Oh, sign this liability release. We'll throw a few bucks at you. It happened. The third year, they actually drained the lake. And they took an ecological paradise and made it a strip mine, a moonscape. All the animals are gone. a lot of us have trauma watching all the animals die. I saw over 10,000 little fish. On the last day of the drawdown, the water wasn't, their little mouths, and I'm horrified. 10,000s of fish. And the deer, the horses, the cattle.
But wait a minute.
Everything's gone.
They're doing this for the fish. They're doing this for the animals.
Oh, I've got a bridge to sell you. It's my son. No.
I got some waterfront property in Montana. If we're going to be on offense instead of defense, we're going to build a bunch of new dams. We're not just going to stop you from taking these dams out. These are ecological wonders.
And the lake had a soul too. The Karuk and all the lovely Native Americans and the sports people. Oh, the river's back. It has its own soul. It's back. The lake had a soul. It's been there 120 years. It had a soul and an energy.
There were old lakes.
Beautiful habitat.
Yeah, and you get down close to the river now, you see no life.
No.
It is a facade.
It is. We had otters and mussels and clams and birds, geese, seabirds, egrets, heron. They're all dead. They're all gone. Sit on my dock and dangle my feet and say, oh my God, dear Lord, this is so beautiful. Thank you. Pinch me more.
Exactly.
Now it's gone. They stole our docks and
stole your life, really.
This
is a version of the Fifth Amendment taking. So they have regulated you off of your. I mean, they've allowed you to keep your property, but your property is now diminished to the point where it's. We were talking to some folks that their house values have dropped by 60%.
Yeah. So I'm not moving into a smart city. Sorry, no, I ain't going there.
No way.
That's their plan, and we so appreciate you. Thank you.
Perfect. God bless you.
God bless you.
So welcome to our little paradise, which is going to be more paradise over time. We, spend more time here. Yeah. So tall. But this sand was never here. This is just.
I think at that time they said that they were going to commit to testing. I can't remember if it was weekly or monthly, just for the peace of mind. And I think they did another test like in March or April. And then that's the last test that they ever did. If they're doing tests, they're not releasing them to the public. I can't find them.
I guess we should call them.
Right. And at that time, the county had already started doing their testing because of these samples that some of the people that living along the Klamath River started doing. It started testing really high in these heavy metal toxins. And so I think that that's when the county kind of started getting on board with that with testing. And I know that they were issuing alerts in regards to getting into the Klamath River because of how their water quality tests were showing. I know that they said by July, it was looking better. But then again, they did the final breaches after July in August and September. I think that they had them completely out in October. So I just kind of wonder what was released after the county did their last test last July. No tests that we're aware of have been done since that time. Like I said, as Klamath River Renewal Corporation is testing, they're not releasing it to the public.
Yeah, that's one thing that's lacking extremely is monitoring, the monitoring part. So when this happened and I saw, the tar rolling by, I kind of immediately drove to Kopko and wanted to see what's going on there. And I was just by myself. I was driving all over the place around Kopko, and I didn't see anything monitoring. Here's the thing, you don't have to be a scientist to see.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't they be interested?
Yes, exactly.
Wouldn't they want to know how
to be able
life
to put
is
it on
doing in the
paper
river?
and to be able to show this or that.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously they've taken a lot of what happened after they breached the dam. And I think Linda's done a great job trying to document it from here, from her home, with the water temperature samples. And I know you were collecting jars for a while. So I think everybody's appreciated that, what you've contributed.
Everybody's been nice about it,
Yes. So, what have you guys noticed as a difference? I mean, were you guys here? I mean, I'm assuming you guys were still here when they breached the dams.
Yes.
So what was that like?
First, it was a color difference. You could tell. When I got home, I said, it's kind of a gray color. What's going on? And then it turned black.
Yeah, I know when I was looking at the water, it almost like had an oily film on top of it.
Yucky.
And the smell, I mean, obviously you guys lived with the smell.
It was bad. Because most of this was underwater the whole winter.
So I know when they did the big release from Upper Klamath Lake, what did you guys experience down here? Because I know that was a big release.
No fish, maybe a dozen salmon flies this year, where the walls is just covered with it. It's clear. But it doesn't look it, does it? No. I think it's all the sediment that's hard packed. That's how it's going to be.
I would agree with you, because even like where I've tested and played up at Klamath on, like some of that hard packed clay soil, it's hard and it doesn't move very easily, and it's definitely given the water a different color. And so this is something that Linda did almost on a daily basis. How long after the breaches did you start collecting these jars?
Probably about 3 days, because I was gone. I was working for Fire Dog.
Okay.
And I came home and I couldn't believe nobody was talking about it on Facebook. So I thought, I'm going to start showing it.
Yeah.
Some of the jars that broke had sediment that thick just from dipping it in the water. I didn't try to dig it up or anything. It just went into the jar.
Well, and you can see as he's shaking that one up there, that one says February 1st on it.
Yeah. And that was from 24.
that was just after they breathed.
I thought it definitely showed a great impact as to what you guys were seeing, and I think that that's something you'll always have. Right, and I'm not sure how long it would take all that to filter down into your wells either. It could take it a year, could take it 2, could take it 3. I mean, nobody really knows unless you test.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's expensive to have it tested. Just for your well, it's over $300.
Wow. And I mean, who can afford to do $300 on a weekly or a monthly basis?
Right.
I mean, and I know that that's kind of a concern with a lot of those of you that live along the river, is what's going to happen with your well water.
Yeah. That was the problem I had with the county, is they would never test with the sediment in it.
Why? They didn't tell us. why would we know all this was going to happen? And our property values, our homeowners insurance just doubled.
And how far up above the river is your house feet wise?
I would say 22 to 24 feet.
So that's impressive if they think you might get 4 feet of water within your house. That's a lot of water.
When we get that much water, the whole road's going to be shut down because the highway will go underwater down here by the fall.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're up here, I can only imagine. I know that there's a lot of houses further down the Klamath River that are closer to the river than your guys' house is. They'd be wiped out.
And if you want to know some facts, there's actually only one administration out of all of the previous 20-something years of administration. The only presidential administration to withdraw their support from Klamath Dam removal was President Trump when he first was in. And that was at a time when he was getting censored and shadow banned and, had to start his own media company. And yet, everybody out here is being called, right-wing conspiracy theorists or whatever. But we're just telling you this is what's been happening. So you ask how it happens is you have people in power, you have people with money that have an agenda that want to control all the resources, and you want to eliminate your agriculture because that's your competition. If you're doing lab-grown plant-based foods, or you're trying to buy up all the farmland in America, or you're letting foreign countries buy up all the farmland in America, well, who's your competition? Well, your competition is the American farmer, the American rancher, the American producer, the 4-H kid, the little ag communities, the little small rural communities. Well, who doesn't have a lot of power and who doesn't have a lot of political clout, are all these little tiny local governments. These local governments cannot compete against these other polytricksters that are making a fortune, to get high-speed rail put in, or, electric cars, or whatever the latest AI or whatever trend is. When most American people, they just want to grow food. They want to have a little garden. They want to send their kids to school. They want to be able to go to their jobs and feel good about their life. And that's not what that's not where we're at anymore. Where we're at is everyday American citizens are under threat.
But I'm the Siskiyou County supervisor for this district.
Okay, good. So is that the same as commissioner?
Yes.
Okay. And how many, do you have 3 commissioners in each county, or 3
We have 5.
supervisors? Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we have 5 districts.
Oh, okay. And my understanding is the majority of the voters voted against removing the dams.
Probably in a higher ratio than anything I've ever seen in this county.
Interesting. And how was the voter turnout? Was that pretty good
it was a decent year.
Good?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So how long have you been a member or board of supervisors?
Actually, this is my first term.
And did you get in it in part because of what happened? Do you think the board of supervisors could have stopped this?
I don't know that they could have stopped it. I think that they did everything that they knew that they thought they could.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the state was going to override, anything we said anyways.
This might be a question for both of you, but has anybody ever brought up what role the sheriff could have played in preventing this from happening?
There has been a lot of question on that.
Like whether or not he has the authority?
Yeah, and it's kind of been a back and forth.
Yeah, it's not just the citizens, though. I think that would be the constitutional question, because it's the property as well. If you read the First Amendment, a lot of people talk about it being about free speech, but it's not just about free speech. It's about our freedom to live. It's our freedom to exist. It's our freedom to own property and to think and to be free. And my perspective on the sheriff is the ultimate authority in the county. And my view is sheriff should stop it. Now, you can have a legal battle about that, and maybe they would lose, but it is something that has come to mind for me, and certainly something that I think about where I live in Washington, in Southeast Washington, and terms of the different sheriffs we have in the different counties.
Are you hearing that from back home where you're
Well,
finding the...
that's in my own mind, because for me, I only go to that because I see sheriff's authority as the last stand. You know, you would never want to just use sheriff's authority sort of willy-nilly. Sheriff's authority is like, you know, somebody from the federal government's coming into our county and they're violating our constitutional rights. We need our protector. The sheriff is the one who has the authority to protect that county. And so anyway, I was just wondering if that was yeah.
Well, I know that one of the questions became, and I don't remember how long ago it was, but essentially California did something that put the sheriffs under, I don't know if it's direction or something of that nature, under the attorney general for the state.
Mm-hmm. But
so
they're still elected, right?
They're still elected,
Okay.
but that's where that question came in, was, you know, if the sheriff does take a stand, is the attorney general going to be able to come in and be like, hey, you can't do that?
Yeah.
And so,
Interesting, yeah.
and I don't remember when it was and what exactly it was, but that was one of the contentions between, does he or does he not have the authority?
So you live in this area. You've lived in this area since before the dams were removed?
My whole life.
Oh, you grew up here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So, I mean, what's your perspective on the removal?
It's been a disaster, and it's going to be a disaster for years to come. Everything that they continue to do, I believe, is going to snowball. Like right now, you saw the logs and stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't take any sort of scientific degree or anything to know that you put those in a stream bed with sediment and you get high water flows, they're going to move.
Yeah.
Where are they going to go?
Yeah.
You know, typically when this kind of restoration is done, they do it in areas with big boulders, other trees, things that will lock that type of large woody debris in place. That doesn't exist here. You're putting it in exactly what you saw them hauling up the bank today,
Yeah.
and it's just a thick clay sediment.
Mm-hmm.
And so as these things continue to move, and I mean, we all understand that water takes the path of least resistance, it's going to be working around these logs, eroding the sediments, and these logs are going to move. They're going to collect on other logs, and this is going to be a snowball effect, and it's going to be a catastrophe before it's done. I can't predict when. It's just, it's not if, it is when.
Yeah, if we could predict when, we wouldn't have the catastrophe that happened in Texas recently.
Yep.
You know, but we can do our best to prepare for it, and I think that's one thing that on a local level that we haven't done a good job of with regards to FEMA, and I think there's some things that we can fix with that. But so in your view, do you think this is, you know, is it a, you know, I've heard the reports say they were expecting a couple of years the things kind of be normal. I've heard other people say it's decades. You know, how long do you think it'll be before there's an ecosystem again around the river? Because the river to me just looks like a facade. It's dead. Yeah, there's water flowing there, but you go there and you smell it and you look at it, it's dead. There's no bugs, there's no wildlife, there's no fish, there's no nothing.
So I heard a saying, and I don't remember where he got it, but Moss Driscoll used to work for Klamath Water Users up in Klamath Falls.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a quote that said, water is not habitat for fish. And he's 100% correct, because water itself is not habitat for fish. It requires so much more. It requires a food source. It requires cover. Just like any other creature in any other ecosystem, you have to have a collective. So we've done all of this in the name of water for the fish, but we've destroyed the entire rest of the ecosystem. So, you know, even when they're talking about, you know, salmon fry and stuff like that, what are they eating? What are the water temperatures right now? You know, and so, like you said, it's a facade. What is that, the Truman Show? I feel like we're in like an environmental version of the Truman Show.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, look at the green screen over here. It's fantastic. And then for people that live here, we're like, it's full of fiddleneck and nasty garbage out there, and they're taking a picture of this one little green patch that holds water longer than anything else, and they're like, look what we've done.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I use that so often, because it feels like our life right now, oftentimes, not just in regards to this, but in regards to many things. It's like, is anybody paying attention?
I agree totally.
Yeah.
There's so many things that the history I was taught about things, narratives that I was fed since I was a child, that I now go, wait a minute, that's not sky, that's a blue tarp. Like,
exactly.
I have been told
or things that we were taught that were true, that we're now being told are lies.
Right.
Yeah, like the whole carbon thing. We talked about this earlier today. You know, the fact that we have a carbon shortage in this world, and everybody's talking about, we have to sequester carbon. Yeah, it's like, really? I thought the planet turned more green when we had more carbon, because it chews up more carbon. Yeah.
Well, the CO2 coalition, that was the name of the group. So good if you look up CO2
coalition.
But it's always been something. It was sunspots, it was holes in the ozone layer, it was global cooling, then it was global warming. Well, all of those things were debunkable at some juncture.
Yeah.
So now it's like, oh, we're just going to generalize it and we're going to call it climate change.
Yeah. Remember when they demonized R12? Are you old enough to remember that?
Yeah.
And we had to go to R134A for a refrigerant for the vehicles. Yes. But they didn't realize, because they didn't do the proper testing, that it's highly flammable. And so Toyota was one of the first ones, and it was down in Arizona, and one of their test trucks got in an accident and it completely burned, because they're like, oh, this stuff's really flammable. Well, it turns out there's really nothing wrong with R12. The holes that they saw in the ozone were naturally occurring. When gases build up in the atmosphere, the ozone opens, allows them out into space, and then it naturally closes again. Well, all their meters at the time, this was back in the 70s and 80s, all they could see is a hole in the ozone.
Now
and
trying to figure out why it's there.
Yeah, it wasn't until later that they realized, maybe the atmosphere kind of breathes a little bit, lets some of those toxins out, so that we don't have, maybe God actually has a design here that works and we shouldn't mess with it.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So on a different topic, but still related to water, are you familiar with cloud seeding?
Yes. Actually, I've heard that for years, pertaining to forestry, and different large forestry outfits cloud seeding to make sure that they maintain a forest to harvest.
Yeah. Well, if you go to Idaho Power, you go to their website, they openly talk about cloud seeding, and I think they estimate they get 11% increase in waterfall and water flow through power generating dams. So they're just open about it. In Washington State, cloud seeding is illegal, but they do it anyway. It's only illegal if you were to try to do it, or if I was to try to do it.
Well, and how do you enforce that?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Do you have any recommendations for how people can respond to groups or government or organizations, NGOs that want to try to basically ruin our lives by removing dams, or anything else that they might be trying to do in our communities?
Participate. It's one thing I've told people since I ran for this position is the power is still the people. Like, I can get up and speak on your behalf as your elected official, but it means a lot more if you're all standing behind me at the same time.
Yeah.
Versus me standing there by myself. So I certainly encourage people. Yeah, you elect the people, but it still takes particiption.
Yeah, you gotta stand with them.
The seeing huge numbers show up. I can tell you a quick story on a shift in wolf policy here. Modoc County had a wolf meeting, and California Department of Fish and Wildlife showed up, and I mean, the whole area showed up to this meeting, and it started a dialogue that has changed the direction of where we've been with wolves. That one meeting with all of those people. So participation is crucial.
Yeah, it's very important.
I know we're all busy and things like that, but at the end of the day, what's your priority?
Yeah.
No, you're right about that, because I was guilty of it for years. I thought I really love your colleague Ray Haupt. He's been my supervisor for years, and we always just kind of left it to Ray. You know, he'll stop it, whatever it is. You know, he'll make sure everything's okay. Kind of, and then we had a really good, you know, our congressman Doug Lamalfa. We thought it was enough to go vote. It's just not the case.
Yeah. So
now we all realize that.
Well,
Or it's dawning on us.
we do it with the current administration, and I see I'll say the conservatives, the side that I most identify with. We're pretty bad about it. We'll get a president or administration that we oppose, and we'll get up in arms and we'll get active and we'll fight it, and then we get a president that is more aligned with where we are, and then we just sit back
and watch and complain.
That's the wrong time to sit back.
Yeah, that's when you put the gas pedal down.
Yes, and we're missing that.
Yeah,
we
100%.
have to utilize that and push the momentum forward when we have the help there.
Yeah, totally agree.
I think a lot of people are feeling that, but they don't know what to do. They don't know how to push the,
Just show up.
fall forward.
Just show up. Showing up to local meetings, public comments, things like that. Like the different agencies, even the county, they put that stuff out on their pages, but you have to go like their page. It requires some effort, and that's where I feel like we've all gotten lax. And so we sit back, and it's like, if it doesn't automatically pop up for us, then it's not important.
Yeah.
And I feel like we need to pursue it. So, I mean, how many water meetings have you and I been at where we're like, where's everybody at? That's a problem. And people need to get past the idea that I can't change anything. Like, you might not be able to change everything, but by not showing up, it's automatically not going to progress, right?
Lisa, you're really the one that brought me into this, and I appreciate that, helping me to see, what's actually happened. The repercussions of, the removal of these dams on the Snake River was incredibly significant. We just spent the last couple of days touring. Great team, great planning, and just can't thank you enough for all the effort that you've put into this, and just hope that this production and the various productions that come with it, pray for the results of the video and hope that it impacts people and moves them, educates them. And
Yes.
tell me, like, where you're at, how did you get involved in this, and what do you hope to see as an outcome over the next few years?
So I kind of got involved because, like, growing up here, I kind of live in the Shasta Valley watershed district, and the Scott Valley's not far from us. I have connections in both valleys. I've got the connection, like, kind of the Klamath River. Sorry, that was a truck. So the Klamath River, I've got family that lives down the Klamath River. Going up to Iron Gate, I used to enjoy that as a kid. We'd always go up to the lake and have friends that had boats, and we'd go up there and go play on the water. There's waterfalls and stuff like that that's up there that we used to be able, we can't anymore, but you could walk up to the falls and just take little day trips. And I'm a hunter, and I've hunted this area, so I'm very familiar with this area. And I just kind of knew for years, like I said, our watersheds have been targeted, the Scott and the Shasta. And so I know that the dams coming out was an issue years ago, in like 2010 to 2012. And then we just didn't hear any more about it. We were told, the dams aren't coming out. We've saved the dams. And so then it was like in November 2022 is when we found out that the dams were coming out. And I felt like most of us locals were kind of kept out of the loop. We thought that they weren't targets anymore. And I don't think any of us really realized that they were still on their radar and that they were coming out. And so me living here, I knew with the dams coming out, it was going to impact not only the Klamath River, but also these other two watersheds that are attributed to them because they flow into the Klamath River, and they've always been targets. So there was something in me that told me that I just needed to document this. I needed to show what's really going on, good or bad, what's going to be the positive side, what's going to be the negative side. I don't know. There's just something in me that told me that I needed to document what was really happening with these removals. So I know that they were trying to fight the dams before they came out. I know Anthony and Tiza was trying to take this to court. I know that we were trying to share the information. This was before the breaches happened, of like all the studies that have been done, how it's going to impact everybody in this area. And some of these Facebook pages and other pages, we were trying to share the information. A lot of the pages would take the information down, and some censored our information. We already know that there's other rivers that their dams are being targeted, like the Eel River. We know that that's the next one for California. So my thing is, this has been known as the largest dam removal in the world. And I think that this was kind of the green light to help target, to be able to take out other dams. Because if this is the biggest dam that they can take out, this is the biggest project, there's nothing to stop them from taking out other dams. So I feel like if they can see like the reality of what transpired during the removal, like kind of what happened in the process of the breaches, the devastation afterwards, and like even a year and a half later that we're still continuing to see, we don't know how long this is going to last. Some people say 4 or 5 years, some people say 10 years, some say 20, some say it could be 50. We really don't know what the aftermath is of the damage. So I think if people can just kind of see what's happened with this dam removal and see like the reality of it and what actually transpired, it's going to help in the case of other dam removal. I can guarantee most people aren't going to see this. Yeah. We've tried to reach out to the news media, but nobody really wants to hear the other side of the story. So I appreciate you coming down and documenting the other side of the story, because you're not going to see it anywhere else. A lot of people always say, oh, those didn't produce very much power. Well, they produced enough power that it supported our grid. And it's kind of funny to see how it happened, because being on Facebook, you get to see where the power outages are. So like, let's say Shasta Valley, parts of Shasta Valley might lose their power. Well, then once their power got back on, then you would see like Scott Valley would lose their power. Or there was like places up in Oregon that would lose their power. So it's like, once you got this one power source going again, well, then somebody else is a trip. And so one of the guys that came down, and he was the manager and an inspector coming down to see how the project was doing. And I happened to be talking to a couple different of them. And so that was something that we were talking about, was power. And I said, they just took out the 4 dams on the Klamath River. And I said, that was one of our power sources. And I said, I'm hearing that we don't have enough power on our grid and that we're having to source power from somewhere else. And this is somebody that's not even from this area. He's like, yeah, you're right. He's like, now that the dams are gone, he's like, you guys don't have enough power on your grid. And he's like, you guys are actually having to buy power now.
The person that lives on the little farmhouse out at the end of town, at the end of the road, is going to get a line out there if the energy is cost effective enough. But if it's too expensive, they're never going to get it. And what we also know is that energy leads to human flourishing. It leads to longer, healthier lives. Mm-hmm. And so it should be something that we're championing across America. Cheap energy should be something that is most important to this political administration. And I think to President Trump it is. Yeah. To Joe Obama and to other Democrats who seem to care more about birds and turtles and fish than humans, it isn't as important. Right. And the truth is, they don't even care about those things. They care about their idealistic idea of returning things to nature, as if God didn't give us this planet for us to take dominion over. Right. And so anyway, I think this is very important. I hope that the work that we do through sharing these videos, I hope the videos get a lot of views. Ultimately, as we have said, because we've had a lot of, conversations between us and the team here this last couple of days, because this is heartbreaking. It is. That, we ultimately trust God, and we get our joy from knowing the gospel, but it doesn't mean that the things that we face on a daily basis are fun. Yeah. They're not. And sometimes they're really tough. And so I appreciate your toughness and your strength and your willingness to walk through adversity. And it's been a great couple of days, and I hope that we do a great job of producing these videos out and telling people stories and making sure that we prevent something like this from happening again. Number one. Number two, we use this as catalyst to build some great, big, beautiful dams.
So I hope people can watch this and see what's actually truly going on here in this area and how it is actually affecting the everyday citizens that live within this area.
God bless you and thanks for watching.
Yes, thank you.
American values do not align with leftists because they hate America. We must engage by giving our dollars and our talents to defend our great American values. Visit jaredsessler.com to donate and get involved. Say yes to America.